Welcome to the Council on Tall Buildings and Urban Habitat Australia for our first national symposium, How Cities Respond to Urbanism. My name is Bruce Wolfe and I happen to be the Australian representative for the Council on Tall Buildings and Urban Habitat. Might just call that CTBUH as it's a pretty long title. A couple of things I have to do first, I think, is to say that the bathrooms are out those doors and down the stairs and follow the directions. And if there's the usual fire alarms, that we just head out the two exits behind you. In the course of the day, we'll hear from developers, from architects and builders and academics as well, Sandra. We shall get a perspective on the urban landscape from Melbourne and Sydney and Brisbane as well, and a little bit on New York, Carol, thank you. We think that this discussion is quite timely with such significant developments in our CBDs. The property market seems to be at an all-time high, and there are major projects like Barangaroo and Queen's Wharf about to impact our cities. We in Brisbane think it's also fitting this first national symposium should be held in Brisbane, as CTBUH has been running its organisation through Brisbane for the last 20 years and more recently in Sydney and Melbourne, with topics such as sustainable growth, impacts on density, urban renewal and of course building tall. But we normally have an umbrella topic for a year, and we do cover the sorts of things that lead up to a symposium like this. For this important, if I like to say, gathering of knowledge, we're particularly pleased with the support we've had from both the CTBUH in Chicago and of course the Brisbane Development Association here in Brisbane, helping form this event. CTBUH not only showcases the world of tall buildings, they embark on a range of research topics that helps us stay, abreast of what's happening in the world in the research topics of structure, fire and other things that impact our ability to construct tall buildings and in fact develop these urban habitats. The Brisbane Development Association, who has helped a lot with this organised event, is Brisbane's leading independent organisation that engages with government, industry and the community to make positive contributions to Brisbane's urban environment. There are many here from these two organisations who have put in the hard yards for this symposium. I'd like to really thank them. It's also pleasing to see that so many of you have managed to take half a day out of your busy lives. I know when we talked about a half-day symposium, the challenge was, could people actually afford half a day out of their work life? And it's great to see you all here. You'll hear from some excellent speakers today from New South Wales and Victoria as well as locally, but also our international guest speakers. Ahmed Abulrazak from Samsung, constructors of the world's tallest building, at the moment the world's tallest building, and Carol Wills, Director of the Skyscraper Museum in New York. Those introductions will be made formally shortly. This promises to be an excellent morning and lunch, and all made possible by some generous support and sponsorship from Brookfield Multiplex. Great to see some people from Brookfield here. ISPT, Arup, Conrad Gargett, and the School of Civil Engineering at the University of Queensland. That also includes Department of Architecture. So thank you to our sponsors. And I'd now like to invite Renee Peters to provide those formal introductions to our speakers. Renee is actually a director at Conrad Gargett and has had more than 25 years' experience in construction and infrastructure projects. This includes contributing to the development of Queensland and Brisbane through participation on several boards and committees such as the Chair of Queensland Government Precinct Advisory Committee, Brisbane City Council Infrastructure Committee, the Urban Land Development Authority and the University of Queensland Senate. Renee has worked on many major precincts and projects and is known for her ability to be innovative on these complex and often sensitive projects. Renee's contribution is sought by government and industry alike, but importantly, Renee has been a key driver in making this symposium happen. So thank you very much, Renee.
Well, welcome everyone. Welcome to our first National Symposium on Tall Buildings and Urban Habitat. So how are our cities responding to urbanism and why do we care about this? Well, it seems that globally and locally, urban density is increasing. In the State of Australian Cities, a report of 2014 and 15, the following was highlighted. Australia has a population of over 23.6 million, adding 400,000 since 2013. 75% of that population lives in our cities. 60% lives in our 5 largest cities, Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, Perth and Adelaide. These cities have grown by 20% in population in the last decade. It is predicted that by 2031 that Sydney's population will grow by a further 33%, Melbourne by a further 41% and Brisbane by 46%. Based on this forecast, Australian capital cities will increase their share of national population from 66% to just under 70%, and in 2061, 73%. So the other component of this that's interesting is that we have an ageing population as well. So the impact on our healthcare and other infrastructure is actually significant in this discussion. So how do we welcome these people to our cities? How do we support them? How do we house them? How do we provide supporting infrastructure so our cities remain productive places of commerce? Because the fundamental notion of a city is actually to produce commerce and keep it viable. Supporting infrastructure in the context of today's symposium is everything from beautiful green spaces to hard urban places to public transport, schools and hospitals. So there's a broad range of things that are required when you have that infill. Australia is not alone in this urbanisation. This is something that's happening globally, and we're really lucky to have representatives from New York and Dubai today who are going to talk about their experiences and how they've responded to this type of growth in their cities. Creating livable, affordable and exciting cities starts with good research, good conversation and hopefully leading to a vision for the future, and we hope today is going to contribute to some of that. So, to get the ball rolling, we have 3 presentations from our 3 states and 3 capital cities. Each capital city will have 2 representatives, one speaking in general terms or overall of the state, and then the second speaker speaking in terms of their, I suppose, expert opinions in relation to their roles. So what I'm going to do is introduce all of the speakers at once, and then 2 speakers at a time is going to come up from each state. So first we have Phil Gardner and David Waldron from Melbourne, Victoria. Phil is from Irwin Consult. Phil has 35 years' experience in the provision of engineering consultancy. His experience includes low, medium and high-rise commercial and residential buildings. Phil is known for his innovative and lateral design solutions and his support of significant and challenging architecture. He is also a committee member of the CTBUH, it's such a challenging acronym, Melbourne chapter. Joining Phil, we're lucky to have David Waldron from Grocon here with us today. David is the National Executive Design Manager for Grocon. In David's time at Grocon, he has been involved with projects as diverse as MCG, Media House, in Melbourne's Docklands, Pixel, Legion House, Liberty Place, 480 Queen Street in Brisbane, and most recently the Parklands at the Gold Coast. David is an architect and an accredited Green Star professional. So for Sydney today, we have Ken McBride from Hassel, and he's joined by Chris Johnson. Ken McBride is a principal of Hassel and leads the design Sydney studio. Ken actively seeks out architectural and urban challenges that require the exploration of innovation in design and materials. He has a particular interest in engineered timber and has joined the Tall Timber Working Group. He is the founding chair of the New South Wales Committee of the Council of Tall Buildings and Urban Habitat. Joining Ken is Chris Johnson. Many of you in the room would possibly know Chris. Chris is the CEO of Urban Task Force Australia. He worked closely with local government as Executive Director in the New South Wales Government of Planning and Development, the Housing Code, Plannings for Regional Cities and Urban Renewal generally. Before this, he was New South Wales Government Architect for 10 years. Chris has written or edited over a dozen books on urban planning, architecture and cities. He has been adjunct professor at 3 Sydney universities and was made a member of the Order in Australia in 2012. For Brisbane, Gold Coast, Queensland, we have Malcolm Middleton. Malcolm was appointed as Queensland's 3rd Government Architect in July 2011. And in his role, he is an advocate for the recognition of the value to all projects through well-considered design processes. Malcolm would be well known to many of you in the room. He also represents the interests of government on many external panels, including the Development and Design Integrity Panel of Brisbane Airport Corporation, the Professional Advisory Panel of Griffith University, Architecture School and Building and Grounds Senate Committee at the University of Queensland. Joining Malcolm, we're fortunate to have David Brown, Head of Special Projects, Sunland. David's experience over the last 35 years has included numerous residential towers, hotels and resorts in Australia, Asia and Middle East. Responsible for apartment buildings on the Gold Coast, Sydney and Brisbane, culminating in the Palazzo Versace Gold Coast, which opened in September 2000. In 2000, David joined Sohail Abedin at Sunland to manage their high-rise division projects, including Aria, Q1, Circle on Cavill. In 2006, he relocated to the Middle East with Sohail and the design team delivering significant projects to the UAE. In 2011, David returned to Brisbane to assist in the delivery of Albion in Brisbane, followed by the redevelopment of the ABC studios in Toowong and Mariners Cove at the Gold Coast. So as you can appreciate, we have some great speakers this morning who are really going to share their thoughts and concerns and challenges about their local cities. I'd like to invite to the stage Phil and David to get started.